Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Walters, and welcome to another edition of the Walters Wanderings Travel Podcast. We'll get to our guest in a second from Holland America Lines, but before we do that, I'm going to throw a little bone your way. If you want to go ahead and book a Holland America Cruise Line cruise, and you book before December 31st, for every 7-day cruise you book, or every cabin, I'll throw in $50 of onboard credit myself. So if you go on a 14-day cruise, you'll get $100 of onboard credit, et cetera, and so on. Choose the World Cruise, well, that's a lot of onboard credit, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. So with me today is my guest, Javier Yacato. He is a person who knows about Holland America Cruise Lines and probably actually knows, forgotten more than I know. So that's excellent. That's excellent to have someone like him, an expert in all things HAL with us. So thank you for hopping on board the podcast today.
Hey, thank you for having me here, Scott.
All right. So Javier has worked on other cruise lines, but he's now put his hat and is hanging his hat at Holland America. But so first, let's go through like the history of the cruise line. How did Holland start, and what's some of the build-up since the early beginning?
Yeah, so Holland America started in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam specifically. This is like 148 years ago, Scott. It was
a long time ago, before I was born, before you were born, before our grandparents,
a couple of generations. Yeah. So we've been cruising for quite some time, but it started with moving passengers, the immigrants, across to the U.S., right? So from Europe over, and those were the humble beginnings of Holland America. But through our tenure, or through our existence, we've seen so many things in the world: a couple of world wars, a couple of plagues, right? Recessions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's been a lengthy journey, but there's still a lot more to have with Holland America brand. So in 2 years, we're going to celebrate our 150th anniversary, and we are looking forward to that celebration, right? And see what the future has for us.
Well, it's a great history, there's no doubt. And one of the things Holland America Cruise Lines does is they actually name their ships after places and things in Holland, which I think is really cool. Other cruise lines will name their things something of the seas, and they'll come up with these catchy names. But yours are actually the names of your ships are actually rooted in the founding and the home country of Holland America Line. I really like that.
Yeah, there's that, and we've also reused names as well before. Our newest ship that just was delivered to Holland America is the Rotterdam, and this is Rotterdam 7, I want to say.
Sure, there's lots of iterations of it, right?
Right. So yeah,
that's great. So Holland America, you cruises basically all around the world. I mean, obviously they do a world cruise, but there obviously are other main areas of focus for the cruise line. Can you go over some of those and some of the places you go to that maybe are unique to Holland America, or are ones that Holland America just does better?
Yeah, so I would say our specialty number one itinerary for decades now is going to Alaska. We do either a cruise only experience or a cruise tour experience, where it's a land and cruise experience, where we'll take guests up the inside passage of Alaska, and also do either Denali or Denali Yukon, or the Yukon area with the cruise. But that's our secret sauce. That's where the real magic is. If you're new to Holland America, we've been going there for 75 years now. We've been going to Alaska even before it was a state, or taking guests there. Yeah. So it's our backyard. It's our expertise. 22, we'll have 6 ships in Alaska for the season. We have 23 open as well, but that's really where we come in strong. And then obviously too our European heritage, right? So we do Northern Europe, the Med, the Baltics, where we have a long season there. We have 4 ships for 2023 season, and I want to say also another 4 for the 22 season as well. But we do Asia, Australia, South Pacific, South America, Antarctica. So it's all across the world. So the majority of our itineraries start at 7-day, but we do have plenty of 14, 20, 30 plus days with Holland America. And a nice advantage or distinction with HAL, which a lot of our guests do, or our travel advisors recommend, is what we call collectors voyages. It's when you link 2 cruises back to back together. And instead of a 14-day voyage, it turns into a 28-day voyage, and seeing new destinations on that trip. And we give a little bit of a savings to the guest with that when you do the back to back. So you can even do some great customizations with our deployment.
And you can also do things like you can go to port A, and in a couple of days you can actually do like be in the port, an ending port. Say like you cruise and you end up in Rome. You can stay a couple of days in Rome, then you can pick up another Holland America ship after that and go somewhere else too. So
absolutely,
there's many different ways you can go ahead and extend your vacation, and I think that's important. And I think that the piece about Alaska is really huge. Admittedly, I went on another cruise line, not Holland America, a couple of years ago, but it doesn't mean I'm not going to go on Holland America to Alaska, because again, it's all about expertise. It's all about knowledge. It's all about the connections. And Holland America, since for 75 years, cruising to that locale is simply amazing, because other cruise lines haven't even been in business for 75 years. So
yeah, and with that long-standing relationship, another distinction with us is that for Alaska specifically is that we have more permits into Glacier Bay than any other brand. So that's one of the moments, highlights, is cruising into Inside Passage and getting into that area of Glacier Bay and seeing Marjorie Glacier and being in that area and seeing the glaciers calving or leading up to it, seeing all the pieces and the wildlife, right? The orcas, the whales, the bears, the mooses, all the good stuff.
Just make sure you have that extra layer, because those places like Tracy Arm and Glacier Bay, they're never that warm. They really aren't.
You do layer up.
Yeah. And if you catch a break when you get to the ports in Alaska, you can be like me 2 years ago and have sunny skies in Ketchikan and low 60s and stuff like
lucky.
that. Oh man, the people were unbelievable. When we got off the ship and we walked into town to get to our first excursion, because we did 2 excursions that day in Ketchikan because it was time, and we actually ate on the ship between because of the way the port's set up. But they all were going like, "You have caught us at a great day," because it hadn't been sunny in 20 days and it had rained the last 13 in a row.
Right.
So, and if I had been on the cruise the week before, it would have been 9 inches of rain in Ketchikan in one day, which is like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Now, let's talk about like the typical Holland America cruiser, and then I want to talk about something else I think is really important. So, who is like the typical Holland America cruiser, and what are they looking for, and why do they come to Holland America?
Yeah, so our mariners are new to brand. They fit a specific profile. It's a guest that's looking for a premium experience on board, right? They're not looking for these overcrowded, mega-size vessels. Sweet spot for age range is between like 45 to 65. I know it's a wide length,
No,
but
it's a certain generation, so it's okay. I understand.
And that range obviously gets skewed by the length of the voyage, right? So if you're doing a 7-day, 10-day Alaska cruise tour, you'll see that range on the lower side. But if you're doing a 14-day, 20-day Baltics cruise, you're going to see that average age jump up a little bit,
Sure.
right?
That
Yeah. Yeah, but we really attract the foodies on board. Um, we have 7 chefs that make up our culinary council. They have all influencing on all dining with specialty area, the dining room. Our wine selection is handpicked by James Suckling. We also have a master mixologist, Dale DeGroff, for our cocktails. So, it's those refined culinary experiences that we really try to hone in and also tailor to the destination. We'll have a lot of port to table experiences, cooking demonstrations on board. We have a partnership with Food and Wine magazine. With the shore excursions, you'll always find an option to do a Shorex with Food and Wine magazine at the destination. Another key attraction for new to brand, our first time cruisers coming to Holland America, they're looking for a variety of entertainment, right? So not just one specific type, but a little bit more of a library per se. So we've really beefed up the evening entertainment with a variety of live music venues with BB King's Blues Club, with our billboard on board, our Lincoln Center stage area. So I think there's a lot of guests out there that are not familiar with Holland America and don't realize that there is that evening entertainment or those options that you have after dinner, right, to enjoy the ship.
Well, as long as I can be able to join in, and if they have audience participation in the Lincoln Center, I'll just go in and sing some opera and let them have it.
Yeah. But the key thing too is the explorers, right? They're always looking for a deeper immersion into the destination. So we have Exploration Central. This is an area where we have experts, guides of that specific region, destination, just to give the tidbits, making sure that the guests are viewing the highlights of the area. We'll also incorporate a variety of different talks based on that region so that you have that cultural and historical framework when you go into and connect the dots, right, firsthand. So it's a good variety of what Holland America offers. And when you combine all of that on these mid-sized ships and the elevated service on board, it's a recipe for success. And those first-time Holland America cruisers, they keep coming back. They're like, "Wow, we found something, and we're gonna go."
No, I understand, because again, there is a cruise line for every type of taste out there.
Yep.
And it's a matter of tapping in and having people understand that not every cruise line is good for everyone. Because I can tell you from personal experience, there's one cruise line that I went once and I'm one and done. It's a big cruise line, and my kids they said, if you take us on another one of these, we will mutiny. So it's like, all right, fine, I get it, I understand. All right, no worries, guys. And they're older now, so they're older than when we went on this cruise. So the mutiny would probably have far worse consequences. So
And I think that right there, you hit it nail on the head, Scott, is the importance of a travel advisor, an experienced travel advisor, so that they could connect guests to the right product, right, or surprise them, because the TA will listen to what the guest is saying, what their needs and wants are, and the guest is to say, like, I'm thinking about this, but then the magic comes in with you,
right.
Scott,
Some
of like
consultation, some proper, asking questions and getting answers.
right.
Well, yeah, it's a conversation, it's relationship building, and one cannot build a relationship with a website. It just doesn't happen.
No, it's there to fact check, right? Like a little bit of a landing credibility kind of deal, but you're right. The meat and potatoes is the interaction.
It's still a people business, and
Yes.
that's a big thing. So now, what's the biggest misconception, or what are the biggest misconceptions about Holland America in the eyes of the public out there?
Yeah, in the eyes of public, that they think it's strictly for seniors, and there's nothing to do after dinner, right, on board. It's kind of a sleeper misnomer kind of deal. So that's probably the biggest misconception out there that I've heard repeatedly. I've been in the industry for about 18 years now, and a couple of other cruise lines, but it's definitely an underrated product. And when you come on, you're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I was expecting of, number one, all the entertainment on board. Number two, the incredible culinary experience on board. And three, just the that elevated service to combine everything, right? So that you could just relax and enjoy your vacation experience and not feel like you need a vacation from your vacation, right?
Sure. I understand. I get it. No, and that's the thing. A vacation should basically be stress free,
Yeah.
unless you're going to be going, pedal to the metal at some destination, which some people do, and some people will. Some people will do that, and is Holland America going to be the cruise line for the person who's constantly flooring it? Maybe not.
No,
I mean, but that's okay. It's all right. And me as a travel advisor, I'm able to go ahead and say, okay, Holland America might be just not quite your acceleration speed, but I do have a cruise I could sell you. And then later on, you might want to do the Holland America because it's a different experience.
It's different, yeah, and also too, like if you want it like full pedal to the metal, you can, if you coordinate the itinerary, like Mediterranean, every day is a port. Every day is a port day.
So
yes,
you'll get a 7-day cruise where there's no sea day.
There's no sea day. We have a lot of active excursion experiences that we offer.
Santorini and going out to Olympus. I mean, the Greek cruises are certainly, I would say for sure, those are the ones that you have to sort of get into training for.
Yeah. I don't think it's all transatlantic.
And just, but don't worry, there's a gym on board, so you'll be able to still get your miles in. So
yeah.
Now I have a family with three teenagers.
Yep.
Obviously, Alaska would be a great itinerary to take 3 teenagers, and they wouldn't necessarily be bored on the ship whenever it's not, at the ports. Are there other, destinations where, families would actually be something that they would like?
Yeah, where we see like the highest family take rate with us is obviously number 1, Alaska, number 2, Europe. Summer is super popular for families. 3, Caribbean during the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, during that window with families. Mexican Riviera as well during that Christmas season. That's where you're going to see the stronger family on board.
You're not going to see an overpopulation of kids ever. So if you're one of those people that, we have to understand that there are people that A, don't have kids, B, have kids that are well behaved like mine, are 99% of the time, but so it's a more refined experience anyway. But there's less kids overall.
There's less children because we rarely have routinely a 3, 4, 5-day product. It's primarily 7-day and longer. And because of that, it just naturally deters, seeing young families in the middle of January, February, right? Where we sail to.
No, listen, my 3 teens and myself and my wife, we can't, there's certain times of the year we just, can't do these long-winded vacations. It's just, it's not possible.
Right. They're in school.
They're in school, exactly.
Yeah.
And we have to keep them in school, and even they're not Zooming school anymore, at least where I am. So if Zoom was an option, we cross our fingers that the Wi-Fi was good, and we make it still do it.
I would tell you that, like, well, cross your fingers with the signal, because if depending where you are in the world, the signal may not be that great.
And it's nobody's fault. It's just that technology hasn't become so awesome as a lot of the other technologies. So it's okay. I mean,
I think Starlink is going to fill that void for the industry. We'll see.
Well, we hope so. Now, Holland America Cruise Lines is booking through when? When can we book you through?
So we have select deployment open through September of 2023. So today we just opened up our Canada, New England 23 deployment. Alaska is open for 23. Europe is open for 23. The full deployment is open for 22. So, if you feel confident and ready to travel for 22, you have plenty of options with Holland America. I would tell you, for the buyer's market, if you are looking, for this incredible offer, cruise before the end of this year. You could maybe even look at 2022, like Q1, January through March. But man, from now through December, it is a steal.
Yeah, if I could get away before Christmas week,
Yeah,
it's definitely to your advantage.
Even like Christmas and New Year's, like that week, it like historically has been high price points.
Sure.
But this year, we're still coming out of this whole COVID era, and consumer confidence is still rebuilding. I mean, we have a free kids promo or children sail free 3rd and 4th over Christmas and New Year's, right?
That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy.
So
if only there was a ship from New York from Christmas to New Year, but that's okay. There's only so many ships and so many ports and so many itineraries. I get it.
Yeah.
One last thing, because we have to cover it, and that is,
sure.
What are the current COVID protocols to get on board the Holland America Cruise?
So for all sailings through February that depart by February 28th of 2022, they will follow the protocols of what we have in place, that it's 100% vaccinated cruise. So all guests need to have received their final or their final dose to be fully vaccinated in order to board at least 14 days prior to embarkation day. You would also need to show a negative COVID test within 2 days from departure. So it could be either PCR or rapid test. On board, there are some mask requirements as you're walking into the dining room area, indoors. There are mask requirements, but when you're outside, open deck, as long as you could socially distance, mask is not required. It's optional. What else? There's a variety of QR codes on board. I would say the entire industry really stepped up their mobile technology. So you're going to do a lot more through the app to help facilitate less contacts and increase service. But that's pretty much it. Outside of that, it's just the normal cruise experience. You could do excursions outside of the cruise line if you're sailing within the U.S. From a U.S. departure port. So that's nice. Yeah, I mean, I just sailed in September. I was a little nervous because I have a young one at home. She's 1.5 years now. She's not vaccinated. But all those protocols definitely put peace of mind to myself as I saw the execution on board and how guests were complying. When I came back, I still took a test when I got home just to make sure everything was good. Came back negative, and I would do it again. So, yeah, if you could do it, I'd highly recommend it. There's a lot of it's great to be back out on the water, interacting with people, listening to live music, dancing, reading a book out on deck, just enjoying the views and
playing bingo. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my vices on a cruise ship. If there's a bingo session, I'm usually there. So
you're there.
I'm usually there.
Always looking for
that. Always looking for that. That big old win.
Yeah.
But, no, I think it's really important points. And again, 100% vaccinated means basically if you're not, you could still sneak in if you're 5 to 11.
Vaccinated.
Right, if you're fully vaccinated, because the vaccines are available if
right.
you choose to go the route. So there is certainly availability. Now, for the rest of 2021, where are your ships sailing from?
For all of 21?
No, yeah, the rest of 2021, the last 8 weeks, of the year here.
Okay, so Fort Lauderdale will have departures out of there, San Diego departures as well, and that is it. So those are your two
All right, so
options for Holland America.
to let people know out there, where Holland America's cruising from U.S. ports, because it's still easier to maneuver around the U.S. than to get to other places. Although those clouds are lifting as well, which is a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So that basically does it. Is there anything else you want to add before we leave, or did we cover everything you needed to get covered?
Yeah, we covered a good amount. I would just say, lean on your travel advisor for your next vacation, because as of right now, they'll help you navigate through all the protocols, navigate through all of the offers, promotions, and also match you up with the right product for yourself that you would have never even thought about, but you were hitting all the key points. That's where the magic is, I think.
That is
personally.
true. That is true, because when you find out that when you get the value, it's all about value. Because I always say, price is what you pay, value is what you receive, and you can't connotate and denote value when you're looking at some website, even the wonderful Holland America website. As a
Yeah.
consumer, you can't see all the little nooks and crannies that the travel advisor knows about.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I appreciate you being on with us. And again, this has been the Walters Wandering Travel Podcast. Don't forget, book a 7-day cruise on Holland America between now and the end of the year. And they're booking out through 2023. Each 7 days, you get $50 of onboard credit. So look at it this way. You want to go on a 21-day cruise, you get $150, and that's from me to you as a special thank you. And I appreciate everyone being on board, and stay tuned for another edition of the Walters Wandering Travel Podcast coming at you soon.